Hello and welcome to Taylor's Rabbit Food Reviews. I'm Taylor Hardaway and this is my channel where I kind of work through recipes and see kind of how easy they are to do, and what changes can be made, how expensive are they, and do they really turn out like the recipe says. So I just kind of work through it and see what happens. Some of these that I'm doing now I'm pretty familiar with, so I've got some pretty solid changes to make. Today I am working from Isa Does It, as I've done in the other ones, and I'm doing her recipe called Chipotle Oyster Mushroom Tacos. So I've done this recipe several times, and I'll go ahead and start getting the water going for this. This is the first change that I do. I've actually changed this recipe quite a bit. And I like the recipe because I like that it's just like a mushroom and bean recipe. It's fairly cheap and it's mostly fresh ingredients. So you don't have to have a lot of expensive things on hand. Really, it's just cumin. But the first main change I make to it is I don't really make them into tacos, because she has them as soft tacos, and every time I get those soft taco shells, it just seems like 75% of the calories that I'm eating from the meal are coming from that tortilla wrap. Those things are like a ton of calories. And after I realized that, it'd be better to switch it to rice. And that's like a little bit healthier option, and actually I like it better. So today I bought from Whole Foods just a Spanish rice. It has a spice mix in there. I guess you could just buy the rice and make your own mix, but for the purposes of this change, I just get the box. It's only like $3.50. So yeah, it's a pretty cheap meal. That was $3.50. The mushrooms, I just buy 2 packages. It says 10 ounces in the recipe, but I just buy 2 packages of 3.5 ounces, and it always works out okay. So I got that going. And I guess I'll go ahead and start chopping some of this stuff. These mushrooms are the other main change I make to it. It says oyster mushrooms, but it also makes a little note in the side of the page. It says, well, you can use shiitake mushrooms. And so I can never find oyster mushrooms, A, and B, when I finally did find oyster mushrooms, I didn't like them because they were way too watery and they were way too expensive too. So I say just go with shiitake. So it's kind of more like shiitake tacos, or shiitake plate rather. They're much easier to find and just better. Those oyster mushrooms were just like way too watery. Alright, so I will wash these. There we go. Oh, dang it. And like I said, it was $3.50 a pack for this, which actually is still a little bit expensive, but I almost bought the like pre-sliced ones, and I got to the register and they were $7 a piece, and I was like, no way I'm doing that. And these are at Whole Foods, so it might be even cheaper some other places. Definitely cheaper if you go to an international market. But where I live, the international market is way out of the way, and it's the only real thing I need for this recipe. I did do that once, and I measured out 10 ounces, and it was a lot. It was definitely way cheaper. It was like $2 for the 10 ounces, versus $7, and it gave me way more. So it's loose on like how many ounces you are, and it seems like these packages aren't really weighing them out correctly all the time either. They cook down, and you can cook them down, you know, to your liking. Not that big of a deal. I think I saw them for a little bit over $3 at Trader Joe's last night. I happened to notice. So a little bit cheaper there, not really much. So, and another change that I make to it is I just put sriracha spice on afterwards, because I've just realized that adding spice in anything, depending on who you eat with, I mean, some people just really don't like it spicy. So if you're eating it by yourself, I guess you can try the chipotles in there, but sometimes that's like a little bit to deal with. So just adding sriracha is, to me, actually better, and you can kind of customize it to how you feel that day and how much you want to put. It's kind of just easier to use. I guess it's not a fresh ingredient, but that's okay. See, this is a lot of mushrooms already. So you get plenty. Alright, there we go. I'll do the spice mix later. Oh, that's not very much rice. This is the first time I've gotten this box. This will be like only enough for this meal probably. I don't have to get more for leftovers. Okay, so that seems pretty hot. I don't want it to get too hot like it does sometimes. All right, so you're actually supposed to cook the onion first. But like I've said in other videos, it's good to have everything chopped up ahead of time so you don't have to deal with it. You don't get in a rush trying to get to the next spot. So this calls for 1 medium red onion that you saute in a pan. There's probably a faster way to get these skins off, but I just pick. If you know of a faster way, put it in the comments below, please. And just chop it into little bits, dice the onion. So I kind of do want to get this going. So I'm going to get in a little bit of a hurry, but hopefully not too much. I'll go ahead and do those. It's supposed to sizzle when it hits the pan, so that's good. I think when you chop stuff, you're supposed to do like a little claw effect. I get kind of lazy with that sometimes. Took a knife skills class one time. I need some room, so I'm gonna put these in there. I could use a bigger kitchen, but I don't have a bigger kitchen. And I try to keep this all in one frame for the camera too. I've got another thing right here, but I'm gonna keep it all on camera. And so in some of the other videos I've found online where Isa has actually posted the recipe, so I'm hoping that this is at least somewhere online. It might not be. but it's pretty simple anyways. And you should buy Isa Does It. I use this cookbook so much. Veganomicon is what prompted me to go vegan. It's made it seem like more normal. But Isa Does It is the one I've really ended up using a lot. And even that one's 8 years old now. So updates can probably be made. I've got a little collection of cookbooks, but I don't ever use any of them. I just use Isa Does It. Alright, there you go. So that is preheat a large pan over medium heat. Add the oil, saute 1 medium red onion. Well, it says for 3 minutes, so, and with a pinch of salt. A lot of times it has me saute stuff with a pinch of salt, and I honestly always forget, but I read it this time, so I'm not gonna forget. Some of this is probably getting close to 3 minutes, actually. It'll be okay. Alright, and then 3 cloves of garlic. I just pick at it. I could mash them with a knife, I guess. That's the chef's way. I just like to pick at it. And it says 3 cloves, so I'm literally doing 3 cloves, but they're small cloves. I've eaten with people that said this is too garlicky, so I just started doing less. And so sometimes recipes have you add the garlic first before the onion or shallots or whatever, and sometimes it has you add it afterwards, and I'm not really sure what the difference is. If you know what the difference is, comment below. So yeah, this is almost more like 1.5 cloves. They're getting pretty soft. Always have a sharp knife. I sharpened this before I started this video. There you go. Alright, now add the mushrooms and sprinkle with some more salt for about 5 minutes. So these, it seems like a lot, but you could add more and then they will break down. Keep dropping stuff on the floor. So I really did 7 ounces of mushrooms rather than 10, but it's enough. Like I said, I just did 2 of those packets from Whole Foods. Alright, it says 1 medium tomato. I actually found heirloom tomato, which maybe I shouldn't be cooking it, but I didn't want to get the slicer tomatoes or whatever. It just seemed good. I've been accused of wasting food recently, so I'm going to try not to waste too much of this. The knife's still not quite sharp enough. This is a really cheap knife. I could have a much better knife, which I'll probably get at some point. There's Williams Sonoma knives that are like $100. I think this is like probably a $10 knife. And you could put diced tomatoes in the rice too. I'm sure the directions tell you to, but I've got them here and it's just another step I don't want to worry about. Like a can of diced tomatoes in the rice. All right. Supposed to go for 5 minutes. Looks great. Probably a couple more minutes. I'll go ahead and open the beans. So 1 can of pinto beans is like 89 cents. So you always want to wash any beans. It like washes a certain starch off, something like that. But if you don't really wash your beans, you will give vegans a bad smelling name. So wash them. Wash them and rewash them. Probably, yeah, these tomatoes cooked down a little bit. They're pretty soft now. Or I mean, mushrooms. So about time to put the tomatoes in. We stir the rice. Probably turn the rice down a little bit. I usually get yellow rice with this. I thought Spanish rice was yellow. This isn't yellow, but that's okay. Alright, so add the tomatoes, chipotle, cilantro, and cumin. So we'll go ahead and add the tomatoes. Not adding the chipotles, because first time I did that, I didn't like dealing with the chipotles and it made it too spicy even for me, and I like spicy stuff. You get those chipotle seeds in there and I just don't want to mess with it. Sriracha just does it for you. It's good enough. Alright, and then the cilantro, you do a 1/4 cup chopped cilantro. So it's kind of hard to tell what a 1/4 of a cup is because it depends on how much you chop it, but I just grab a couple of handfuls, leave some for garnish. I really should grow my own cilantro because I use it a lot and I end up not finding uses for my leftover cilantro. So I like to use as much as I can so it doesn't go to waste. And I've never eaten anything where I'm like, no, this is too much cilantro. So it says a 1/4 of a cup chopped. I don't even think it's that big of a deal to have it chopped that much, but I'll try to do as much as I can. The time it has given me. Trying to do the claw. You claw, you hold and you wiggle back your fingers. Alright, that's not chopped up that much and it looks almost like 3/4 of a cup, but I'm doing it. It'll be okay. tomatoes, cilantro, and cumin. So cumin is 1 teaspoon. So that's not a whole lot of spice for one meal. This is the only spice you use in this. That's a little more than a teaspoon, but that's okay. Saute it up. Ooh. Put the spice back in there in a minute. Alright. So it says lower the heat, so this doesn't overcook. Now time to put the beans in. Kind of just start putting everything in. You're not gonna mess it up. Alright. And I'll just let that heat through. I'll put the spice in the rice. And it's pretty much done. And so since I'm not actually making the tacos, she has you do this, it's another pretty big change that I make to this recipe. And I did it for a long time. But she has you do this slaw with cabbage, and it's not bad. It's actually pretty good and easy to make. But I don't make this recipe like 4 times at a time, and I don't ever find other uses for the cabbage. So that cabbage adds like another $7, you know, maybe $6 or $7 to the meal, and it's not completely necessary. And I end up just having a lot of cabbage go to waste because I just end up not having time to make something or eating out. But you can still add the cabbage on the side even if you're not doing tacos. I've just stopped doing it. So the rice is almost done. And I did get an avocado to put on the side. It's so hard to find a ripe avocado. You either have to plan 3 days ahead or just use avocado on your leftovers 3 days later, but I found a good one this time, fortunately. I'll go ahead and slice that up. Another vegan YouTuber taught me to twist it and out. Alright, so we're pretty much done. Let me make sure the rice is finished. Yeah, the rice is done, and this is done. So it's ready to go. That rice is kind of spicy. Just so you know, the Whole Foods Spanish rice, a little spicy. There's like a main brand of yellow rice that I usually get. I forget what it's called, but it's the one you see all the time. I think I like it better, but this isn't bad. There you go. Ooh. This is a really good, really simple meal. Kind of become a staple pretty easily. Put avocado for garnish. And put, oh, you know what? I never put the lime in there. Can add that later. Or you know what? Maybe the lime is for the, no, you're supposed to add fresh lime juice to this. Well, I'm adding that later. So, fresh lime juice. So, that's just as garnish. Not that big of a deal. Put those on the leftovers. And we're done. I think this looks pretty good. That's in frame. So, if you made this, tell me what you think in the comments. If you want to see more, definitely subscribe. Eventually, I'm going to do recipes from a new cookbook, and I just want to work through, I think I'm going to try to just work through all of it. So definitely get the I Can Cook Vegan cookbook, and I'm going to work through all of it and see how it works out. So yeah, definitely subscribe, comment, and like. Tell me what you think or what you want me to make. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.